Good day, everyone, and welcome to the Minimizing Summer Stress for Cool Season Turfgrass and Managers Call. At this time, all sites are now online in a listen-only mode, and it is now my pleasure to introduce our first speaker for the day, Mr. Lawrence Mudge. Please go ahead, sir.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Bayer Beyond the Basics. This afternoon is our second installment in our turf management training series. Today's presentation is called Minimizing Summer Stress for Cool Season Turfgrass as well as Managers. Who knows what kind of summer we're all going to have in turf growing areas in the United States this year. Today's presentation will be presented by Dr. Frank Wong. He's our green solution specialist with our turf and ornamental division with Bayer. Just some brief instructions with our webinar. If you're listening as a group, please make sure each individual signs into the webinar, or if you got a group and you're listening at a computer, just email Natalie Sabonia, and her email address is natalie.sabonia@global-prairie.com. And you can give her the attendee names so each participant will receive credit for attending this webinar. All participants will be in a listen-only mode, so there's no need to mute your phones. We've done that for you. After the presentation, the way we're going to handle questions and answers will be at the end of the presentation. You can submit your questions in the Q&A panel. You'll see at the bottom right there's a Q&A panel, and you can just simply type in your questions there, and a couple of us will read the questions to Dr. Wong, and he will respond to your questions. And if you can give us your location and your turf type you're asking a question about, that would be great. If you experience some technical difficulties during the presentation, you can submit a question through the Q&A panel as well. Today, as I said, is our second installment in our webinar series. We've got some more coming up. Upcoming webinars. The first one would be Tuesday, May 15th at 3 o'clock Eastern Time. This one's entitled Turf Gadgets. Maybe this is rocket science. This is going to be a very interesting webinar. It's presented by Dr. Mike Richardson, University of Arkansas. On Tuesday, June 19th at 3 p.m. will be a presentation about bacterial decline in creeping bentgrass. This will be given by Dr. Rich Lattin from Purdue University. On Tuesday, September 18th at 3 o'clock, there will be one presentation entitled Snow Mold and Winter Damage Prevention. We're just coming out of the snow mold period of time, and pretty soon we'll have to start thinking about snow mold treatments. Dr. Jim Kearns, University of Wisconsin, will be giving that presentation. For you participants, you'll be getting a tenth of a CU credit from the GCSAA. We'll be providing a 9-digit code at the end of this presentation. So be on the lookout for that, and you can submit code within 30 days of this event to get credit. If you have questions, again, contact Natalie at her email address, natalie.sabonia@global-prairie.com. We also will be providing 2,000 Bayer accolade points for this webinar. If you go online and view, if you missed one, you can go to our Back by Bayer website and view it online and get 1,000 Bayer accolade points. If you attend 4 webinars through this year, you'll receive 4,000 bonus accolade points. A little bit about our speaker today, Dr. Frank Wong. He joined Bayer almost a year ago and is based in Washington, D.C. He relocated from California. Previous 10 years, he was associate professor and extension turf specialist at the University of California, Riverside. He's also been involved teaching education hours at the GIS show, like when we had this Vegas. So he got out and about quite a bit. So I'm glad to have Dr. Frank Wong on board and given this again. We'll be providing this code at the end of this presentation where you And get you with that. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Frank Wong and let him tell us how we can reduce summer stress. Thank you, Dr. Wong.
Okay, awesome. Hey, thank you so much, Lawrence. Hey, thanks for being here today and tuning in into our webinar on reducing summer stress for turf grass and subsequently turf managers. So what we're going to do today is just kind of touch a few things, and you know, we're not going to go into super detail on some of the stuff, but just kind of hit the high points and take the 10,000-foot view of some of the things you might want to be thinking about as far as getting ready to go into the summer, and also, you know, kind of little tips and tricks as far as cultural practices that you can implement when the heat of the summer is upon you. So basically, kind of boil it down to a few points as far as things we're going to talk about, and a lot of it kind of revolves around just the physiological responses of cool season turf to summer conditions, basically why cool season turf just wants to go south on you, you know, during the summer periods. Talking about disease preparedness, kind of how some of the cultural practices I'm going to be talking about today kind of relate. Kind of hit some highlights on preventive cultural practices that are going to put you ahead of the game going into the summer. They include aerification, top dressing, kind of, you know, a little fertility management in regard to nitrogen, and then finish up a little bit with kind of some tips and tricks on syringing and cooling. So, okay. As far as one of my favorite photos I like to use for these talks is this one, and I'll tell you what, you know, with summer stress, especially in you know, transition zone and also in kind of arid areas, you know, the summer can beat you down and make you cry, and definitely that's something we want to avoid, you know, as far as the stress that you can take on as a superintendent. And so a lot of things that you can do now kind of really can help you avoid ending up looking like this. And, you know, I'm really kind of become a huge fan of trying to get a good overview of an area as far as what the weather patterns and stresses look like. And you know, I borrowed heavily from my good friend Larry Stoll over at Pace Consulting as far as utilizing these temperature charts. Basically, we're looking at precipitation down here. Let me just back up. This is actually weather patterns for the DC area, so tough place to grow grass if you're familiar with the area. But just kind of want to use this as an example to kind of illustrate it. But here, you know, you've got your low nighttime temperatures in the blue, your high daytime temperatures in the red. And then using Larry's information from PACE, kind of calculated a growth potential curve here. And basically that's just, you know, kind of almost a modified degree growing day type calculation. Just gives you a good illustration of what's going on as far as, you know, coming out of spring dormancy, you know, hitting kind of optimal period of turf growth where you're baling hay out there, and then, you know, going to the summer decline periods. Rest and rejuvenation as you come into the fall. Basically, this is just a good guide to visualize what's going on physiologically with your plants. Okay, this is a chart available at the put this together several years ago, and I absolutely just love this chart. Because basically what he's looking at is soil temperature effects on cool season turfgrass growth. And, you know, what he's got listed here is average 4-inch soil temperatures. And really kind of, if you look at these, you know, 50 to 65 degrees Fahrenheit is optimal temperatures for root growth. So that's about now. And POA putting down roots. You know, 60 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit is when you have optimal temperatures for shoot growth. And then when you hit about 70 degrees Fahrenheit soil temperature, that's kind of like the peak that you're getting as far as cool season turf growth. And then beyond that, it starts to go downhill. When your soil temperatures hit 77 degrees Fahrenheit, basically that results in just the root growth ceasing for a lot of cool season turf. And when you actually get into the 90s as far as soil temperature, your shoot growth basically stops. So this is, again, just looking at soil temperature. Typically when you're looking at these kinds of soil temperatures, you might be up in the 90s, hundreds even. But basically, the soil temperatures really are a really good indicator of what's going on physiologically with your plants. Okay, so if you take that information from NC State and kind of overlay that on a kind of mid-Atlantic type situation, basically you can kind of see here, with your daytime and nighttime and average average air temperature is usually a pretty good guesstimator of soil temperatures. Basically when you're hitting this kind of mid-summer period, you are definitely in the danger zone as far as just your plants just completely see any kind of growth there. So oftentimes what you have going into the summer by, say, mid or late June is what you got to deal with. And if you take damage, whether it's disease or just straight environmental damage, you're kind of going to be, behind the 8 ball until the fall when things actually cool down and you get some. So again, doing a lot of stuff here as far as kind of, summer preparation, doing proper maintenance practices when you're in the danger zone will kind of, again, prevent you from being broken down and lapped around by Mother Nature. All right, this is a great photo. This is from the work that Fred Yelverton and Tom Rusty were doing at NC State. Basically, they're just growing bent grass in a hydroponic situation at different temperatures. So just, again, a really great illustration of what's going on here with cool season turf. Again, if you notice here at about 26 degrees Celsius, so roughly about 78, 80 degrees, this is about when you stop actually making roots. And if you can see here over at 30, 34, and even 38, basically your plants are shutting down. So again, that's just a good visual of the effects of temperature on cool season root development. Okay, and again, if you look at some of Fred Yelverton's data from Penncross root biomass in North Carolina, again, you can see that the overall length of that turf basically starts declining with those higher soil temperatures in June, July, August, September, and your bottom here by late summer. And, you're not really going to get any recovery. So basically what you start off with here, you got to maintain through this real danger zone period in the summer. Now, bent is somewhat, heat resistant in a lot of situations depending on what cultivars you got. But again, if you're working with POA, and I've got a soft spot for POA in my heart, having spent 10 years in California, but you're even more behind the 8 ball when it comes to high temperatures. And again, similar work done by Tom Rusty and Fred Yelverton as far as the effect on root development. And you can see again here at around 70, POA just dramatically crashes. If you're managing mixed POA or 100% POA type putting, you're really under the gun as far as summer stress. And again, just not to beat a dead horse, but bent grass, basically, you've got the seasonal variations in depth and also plant health. Annual type POA, it's even more severe. Boy, if you've got a lot of annual POA in your green, bad place to be as far as dealing with summer. So anyhow, just a really quick recap of what I was talking about. High temperature really affects, C3 summer, and really the effect of that high temperature is a loss of active growth in the summer. And so, you have both direct plant loss in high temperature conditions, and then also, the plants are stressed out and much more susceptible to and perhaps the worst part of the whole equation is that because of from damage until cooler weather resumes. So, if you're sitting out there and you get really, taken by surprise, say in late June by a solid hit of anthracnose or something like that, you might be looking all the way until September, October. Again, kind of keeping on your toes, in the next month or two coming up is really, really important because, summer temperatures, we just really lose the ability to recover from damage. Looks like I just lost connectivity. Just give me a quick second here as I.
Frank, I lost it too.
Hopefully no one else got kicked off of the
Somebody in the technical area let us know what's going on. There we go. Coming back, everybody.
Here we go. Someone can just back. Okay, fantastic. All right, we're back. Here we go. So as far as I'm back here. I was just wrapping up here. Basically, if you take damage in the summer, that you're really limited as far as what you can recover from. A lot of preventive practices, and also kind of knowing what to do as far as those kind of maintenance practices in the summer really kind of will help you along. And, definitely the summer, if you're a plant pathologist, is your busy time. There's dead grass coming in left and right usually starting. Yeah, usually I would say 4th of July weekend is usually when things really, the rubber really hits the road for a lot of plant pathologists. And your key diseases for the summer, Anthracnose, summer patch, if you've got POA, Pythium diseases, I think are Severity, algae definitely comes in, stressed out greens, and, brown patch, dollar spot. And then on top of that, you're going to have effects from take-all root rot, take-all patch damage on greens during that time. Bacteria come in, curvularia, fairy ring, symptoms can be pretty. So again, summer's a great time great time for diseases. Not so much for superintendents, but for diseases, a great time. And, brown patch, dollar spot, I'm not going to talk too much about these today and focus on these 3 diseases. But again, we had a good dollar spot discussion last time with Dr. Lee Miller. But I'm going to focus mainly on these kind of more midsummer stress diseases. Okay. Just want to touch briefly on these diseases. I don't want to make it a disease seminar today or plant pathology type seminar, but I just want to kind of talk about these kind of stress diseases, and that'll help put some of the cultural practices into kind of a framework as I go through and talk about them. But definitely, Anthracnose has been a major problem on annual bluegrass greens for the last 10 we're still fighting the battle against this one. I think that there's a lot of great research that's coming out, especially out of the Northeast 1025 group based out of Rutgers. But definitely, we're getting some headway against this, but not 100% under control. But chronic problem on annual bluegrass greens, and can be a problem on creeping bent grass. And when you talk about anthracnose, you really can't exclude summer patch. I think these are like the Tweedledee and Tweedledum as far as summer diseases. They kind of go hand in hand often, and a lot of your fungicide and preventive practices are really aimed at stopping both. So as far as anthracnose and summer patch, really kind of that's a really critical time to go after these diseases is about now, starting with about 65 to 68 degree soil temperatures. And I'll show you a little bit of data in a few slides here, kind of illustrating that point. But definitely, both anthracnose and summer patch are stress-related diseases. So for a large part, fertility Now, again, I don't want to talk too much about fungicides and fungicide programs today. We're going to focus. But this is just some old work that I did back in 2002 when I was at University of California. And basically, we were looking at fungicide program timing. And I think this slide does a good job of two things. First of all, if we look at the DMI or sterile inhibitor-based program, which is basically Max alternated with Daconil, you can see that depending on when we started the program, at 64, 67, 69, even 71 degrees Fahrenheit soil, we got pretty good season-long control from our program. We waited until June 17th, where the soil temperatures were up about 74 degrees Fahrenheit. Basically, we kind of missed the boat, and we were chasing the horse out of the barn for the whole summer there. So again, if we can really focus on I would say about 68 degrees soil temperature being, probably the latest that you want to start things. Again, if you're at 68 and go up to, into the 70s pretty fast. So again, 68 is a really good number to keep in mind as far as, the line in the sand as far as starting your. Also wanted to use this slide to illustrate, I think, one of the biggest problems that we're running into with anthracnose, and that's basically strobe resistance. So, Heritage, Insignia, Disarm, all have, problems with controlling this disease, and, even we've got quite a bit of 3336 or that in mind as you're designing your program. So again, mainly strobe and benzimidazole problems with anthracnose, but they're important for your summer patch programs. But again, might be in a situation where you're not getting a lot of control. Okay. Pythium, another kind of stress and environmental condition type disease. I think Pythium is really got a very well-deserved bad name as this is one of those diseases that can, definitely something to be prepared. And again, this magic number of 68 keeps coming up quite a bit in turf pathology, but really kind of we see that the worst situations as far as having disease pressure is when your nighttime temperatures are above 68 at night. And, it's a funny thing, working in places like, it could be 115 degrees during the day, but if it was, say, like 55 at night, you'd never see Pythium. But as soon as you hit those 68 degree night red alert, ray shields, so on, as far as getting prepared for Pythium to strike. Pythium is definitely one of those diseases that requires a lot of water. So we tend to see it much more severely in saturated soils or when you have excess surface or really high humidity. Definitely, again, because the fungus's tendency to really stick to water, tends to run with water patterns or kind of wet mowing patterns, so on and so forth. But when you look at all of this, it really comes down to good drainage. Drainage, whether it's both air or water, is really, really important as far as Again, we'll kind of look back on some of those, or go look at some of those cultural practices in a few minutes here. But again, we'll try to relate them back to Pythium. And just a quick reminder as far as the different Pythium diseases. I think there's been a little bit of confusion as far as what Pythiums hit at certain times. And on one hand, basically, I want to highlight. I want to highlight the different Pythium diseases. If you've heard a lot about Pythium root dysfunction, this is really something that Lane Treadway and Jim Kern did quite a bit of work on at NC State University. You may see the symptoms of that disease popping up under some. Really, that is a spring and fall type period for infection. So, check it out on the web. Just Google Pythium root dysfunction. But really, what I want to focus on for summer Pythium is really this Pythium root rot. And Pythium root rot can really be caused by a number of different Pythium species. And definitely the problem there is when you have really water-saturated soils. So, for example, when you've really got the sprinkler system cranked up for wilt-type situations, if you've got a lot of high organic matter or just poor infiltration, that you're just bathing those roots in the bathtub, and that really sets you up for Pythium root rot damage. On the other hand, good old Pythium blight is more of a foliar type disease, and that one tends to run when you need a sheet of water either at the surface or covering the plants there. Definitely, again, it's related to that just having so anything you can do to dry off leaves or water to move through the soil really helps out in reducing both Pythium moving back to our good old weather chart here, I really love to throw this one out here. Basically, this red zone is the period where you have nighttime temperatures over 68 degrees Fahrenheit. And so I always kind of say, that's Pythium City, population U. So that's kind of just a good reminder that, when those nighttime temperatures are pretty high, that you really do need to have some practices out there and be watching out for that disease because, again, once it hits, it can be real fast. Okay, just a quick reminder, preventive fungicides, phosphonates, like phosphatidylum aluminum and phosphites are pretty good for moderate pressure. But again, if you're under very, very heavy pressure or even curative type situations, do use your Pythium specialists like Panol, Alxam, Fluopicolite, or Sazum. And just want to share a little bit of Southern wisdom with you guys. This down at North Carolina State University a long time ago, that his model for spraying for Pythium is when you woke up in the morning and your boxer shorts were stuck to your legs with sweat, it is basically time to pull out the heavy guns for Pythium. So again, that's a really good reminder as far as using kind of preventive type materials. And just very briefly, the last disease I just want to touch on is algae or Cyanobacteria, and a lot of that disease on but this can be a real annoyance type of disease because it really kind of comes in on thinned out greens or areas where you're doing a lot of irrigation to make up drought stress on areas. And again, algae doesn't sound really, really powerful, but this oscillatoria type algae can easily colonize the soils, get into the plant canopy and really prevent, plants from filling in or recovering. Again, that's another disease you just want to watch out for. Okay. Okay, so again, just in summary for algae, low mowing heights, thin green shaded areas, high soilness of thatch and organic matter are good conditions where you tend to get. Again, we'll relate this back to some of the agronomic. Okay. So just kind of basically as far as looking at key steps to reducing summer stresses is really to implement preventive summer disease programs. So like I was talking about, with Anthracnose summer programs, with something like Pythium, again, the 60 night, those low time temperatures are good markers for implementing your. And definitely, now's the time to make as just maximizing healthy plants in the spring. Because, like I said earlier, basically going into the summer, what you got in the middle of summer is what you have to deal with all the way to the fall. So the more root mass you can push down, the healthier, I think, the easier the summer could be. Definitely we want to reduce excessive soil moisture as far as, setting out a lot of moisture for diseases like to fire. So I'll be talking about how to kind of address those issues, and also kind of just improving summer growth. Trimming trees, getting some air movement, opening up air. Again, these are really good things you could be kind of doing now. Get ready for the impending summer maelstrom that's coming. Okay, so what I'm going to do now for the next 20 or 30 minutes are just basically touch on some key cultural practices to prevent summer disease stress. And, just want to thank my university colleagues in advance for letting me use data. Just going to touch on some research that's been done in the last, kind of highlight some of the important things that we need to do. Definitely, if you haven't already aerified, aerification is coming up, and I think aerification is probably one of the most important things you can do to prevent stress. And, basically it's just a essential step to removing organic matter. And, the overall effect is deeper, denser rooting. From this image here, you can kind of see here's the aerification hole. And, here's the King Kong root coming down here. But definitely, it's not rocket science as far as, looking at the, but, you basically have, improved soil health as far as just, your overall organic matter content and kind of physical properties. And, more importantly, better water infiltration. So to keep the water away from the surface, get it down through the profile. And again, this is just a good cross-section of just some general turf. When you're talking about, organic matter, you're really talking about, stuff even down in the soil, but really kind of, old plant parts and just dead stuff that really builds up. And, I think one of the worst conditions that you could possibly have is spongy layer of organic matter here, holding water in, providing enough moisture for diseases to fire, also, kind of heating up your areas, as far as that water just being stagnant and just sitting there and heating. But if you look at kind of, the overall effect of thatch and organic matter accumulation, you have loss of water infiltration. Again, that stuff is just acting like a sponge, holding the water up near the surface. Reduced, compaction and loss of gas exchange. Roots need to breathe too, so definitely having high organic matter process. Increased disease pressure. Effect of water just being held up there. with kind of, the puffiness and sponginess that you have. Again, you run mowers across that, and there's a higher chance. Definitely, no one wants to play on. So again, thatch and organic matter management is really important for several reasons. Okay. So, when you're talking about practices to reduce organic matter, it's aerification, whether it's solid tine, hollow tine, vertical mowing, and some sand top dressing. And you can use all of these as far as different strategies to deal with organic matter management. And what I did here was just did a quick comparison of thatch and organic matter management methods, just based on some recent research across the U.S. And, the question always comes up, should you, hollow tine? Should you, solid or pencil tine? Should you vertical mow? Should you do both? So on and so forth. And I think this does a pretty good job of kind of summarizing up some of the advantages and disadvantages. Hollow tine cultivation with a, quarter-inch or half-inch hollow tine. Guys often don't like to do that because, it's fairly invasive. But, based on Eric Irvin's research, and that was 2010, I would say the summary from what Eric was saying, Eric Irvin at Virginia Tech, is that hollow tine cultivation is basically kind of your best general purpose type of cultivation aerification method. And it's really good when you can actually see visible layers. So, if you really haven't been, kind of a thatch, this is kind of a good general purpose technique. The surface disruption is somewhat moderate, and one of the negative things that Eric kind of pointed out is that oftentimes it can take up to 30-something full recovery from hollow tine cultivation. Now, on the other hand, if you have been paying attention to Rock Gaspa over at University of Nebraska, he's been doing some really interesting work looking at, the effects of solid tining or even kind of, less invasive like, pencil tine or hydrodeck type of practices. But I think his overall takeaway from that was that, when you're doing an adequate job of maintaining or getting rid of organic matter and you're not layering, and you just want to have a general kind of maintenance practice, that this is a really good alternative for that, because overall you have a lower amount of surface disruption, a moderate recovery period, and you can really maintain a low level of organic matter. Now, Mike Richardson and his group, him and Doug Karcher down in Arkansas, we're doing some interesting things with vertical mowing, as far as just, kind of looking at that effect. And I think the takeaway from the research there is that if you've got a lot of surface organic matter, so like, for example, if you just haven't been able to get in and manage it, or you're, taking assuming responsibilities of a course maybe where the previous superintendent wasn't very good about organic, that vertical mowing actually does the best job as far as just getting rid of all that junk at the surface. Unfortunately, there's a pretty high amount of surface disruption there, but the good news is that the recovery is pretty short. So again, just depends on where your organic matter is as far as some of the stuff that Eric was also doing was looking at combining vertical mowing, cultivation, and I think generally it's not recommended. It's just too aggressive because your surface disruption high and your recovery period was pretty. Combining techniques in this case probably not a good. And then finally, let's look at sand top dressing. You can look at sand top dressing as doing a few things as far as organic matter. Basically, it's diluting down your total organic matter, and also it's providing kind of a good porous kind of environment for a lot of that organic matter. So again, sand top dressing, my takeaway from there, based a lot of what Johnny Guigiato at Connecticut and his colleagues at Rutgers University have done, is that sand top dressing is always a good idea, and the more sand, better as far as stress management. Okay, as far as timing, you want to really do aerification at the right time. And, good friend and colleague Adam Miller from the USGA here did a very nice summary in the green section record. Basically, it boils down to doing aerification when your cool season turf has the highest potential for high root and shoot growth, and really doing your aerification practices outside of those periods is just not good, because you do turf industry. You have turf injury from stressful weather, extended recovery time, invasion by annual type Poa annua, and also a chance for desiccation injury. So again, if we kind of look back at the weather pattern charts, you really want to cultivate and do all your aerification practices when you again, delaying practices into probably not a good idea. So again, just really focus on that this kind of glory period right now where Okay. As far as fertility, I'm really no expert on fertility. One of the things I've picked up in working with the guys from Rutgers the last few years is that spring fertilization is probably the most important thing for establishing healthy plants in the summer. And anywhere from 1 to 2 pounds of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet recommended for annual bluegrass. And, probably a good idea for creeping bentgrass as well. And if you've got a situation where you've had chronic anthracnose, probably even go up to 3 pounds per 1,000 square feet. Again, the spring is an opportunity to really push roots down to center of the earth for the most part with those fertility. And then don't forget that, your turf also needs a little bit of love in the summer. So summer fertilization at anywhere of the rate from a 10th is really key for maintaining plant vigor. So again, if you want to look at some of those in more detail, check out the work that's been done at Rutgers University. I'm going to give you an idea of why I'm going with. And I'm a real visual person, so I kind of like to put it this way. Springtime, drop your heavy nitrogen and push your plants, and then again, use some light rates of weekly nitrogen application. Get you away from some of the stress diseases. And top dressing. Again, there's a lot of reasons why you want to top dress. Definitely, spring and summer to sand top dressing are key for reducing stress. And, adequate top dressing really reduces the effect of mechanical. And, also kind of that sand, being there can really improve infiltration rates to avoid excess surface moisture. So, for example, getting water out of the way for Pythium and algae. So I'm basically, keeping water out of the situations. And then also, with sand top dressing, you get that added surface firmness and kind of optimal plant conditions. And so you even do things like mow a little bit higher during the summer. About in a little bit. Again, I'm a real visual person. This is an image that I borrowed from John Iguajado, who's over at University of Connecticut. But basically, I think the picture says 1,000 words. Just sand top dressing basically just gives you a better surface, gives you adequate crown and shoot protection there, and can say more or enough about the importance of sand top dressing. Okay. So again, deeper tillers, reduce stress, firmer surfaces, raise cut, and top dressing, all things that you can really benefit very aggressive sand top dressing program. Okay. Just really quickly, just to throw in a little disease data in here, looking at anthracnose severity in 2006 based on John's studies, basically you can see here that 1 to 2 cubic feet and top dressing applied, we really did a great job in reducing down anthracnose, and you know, you can kind of how that reduces the overall effect of summer stress on plants just by that aggressive sand top dressing practice. Okay, as far as amounts, John basically recommended in his studies about 4 to 8 cubic plus 1 to 2, you know, then you maintain that with 1 to 2 cubic feet 1 to 2 weeks in the summer per 1,000 square feet. And then a recent survey by Rock over in Nebraska basically indicated that the cubic feet per 1,000 square feet per year definitely had less organic matter issues. So definitely, you know, the more sand you can put on greens, probably the better. Okay, and now we're you know, just going to talk about mowing heights. You know, like I said earlier, with sand top dressing, you know, you can improve surface characteristics and you know, even raise, and that's really, really important because basically, you know, with plants, the surface area that they have available for, you know, or I'm sorry, the height of cut basically reflects on the amount of area they have. And I think general rule of thumb here is that, you know, once you start going below 1/8 of an inch, you really start beating up those plants pretty bad as far as ability to photosynthesize and, you know, generate roots. As a result, you know, with that lower height of cut, you get more disease and damage. And I just want to throw out some old slides from 1997 and 1998 from Wong at Rutgers to illustrate that. Basically, what we've got going on here, besides the groovy, you know, mid-90s colors here, is basically Bing Ru was showing the effects of mowing at 5/32 of an inch versus 1/8 of an inch over 1997 and 1998. And basically, in the green line here, that's the amount of photosynthesis going on, and the red line here is the amount of respiration, or the amount here, that in the middle of summer you definitely have that energy deficit as far as, you know, use. But, you know, under the 5/32 of an inch type, see that energy gap is either not there, but in kind of, you know, a high-stress year like 1997, that 1/8 of an inch cut, so just, you know, just a very, very small adjustment to mowers dramatically increased the amount of, you know, deficit there in 1997. Wasn't present in 1998. Again, just by dropping your mowing heights a little bit, you're really hurting the plant because you're really cutting down on its ability to generate enough energy to stay happy. Okay, so what can you do about it? You know, because again, you know, green speed is really, really important. You know, guys, you know, I think it's probably overrated as far as you know, overall impact. But you know, our clients and the players just love to talk about green speeds. So definitely, you know, besides things like sand top dressing well, besides sand top dressing, you know, you can also go to some practices like lightweight rolling as far as doing some other things to maintain a certain height of cut while, you know, kind of some really quick studies as far as the benefits of rolling or alternate mowing from Richards and Karcher and Richardson out at Arkansas, Sorokin over at Tennessee, and John again over at Rutgers University. Basically, what I want to show here is that, you know, Richards over at Arkansas was doing some studies back in 2008, and basically showing that if you're comparing an 1/8 height of cut versus 5/32, which is here, basically the overall effect of implementing rolling, you know, 3 times a week, or you know, cutting, alternate mowing, and then rolling 6 times a week. Basically, what you could do is you could maintain green speeds. Whoops! It looks like I'm gonna get disconnected here again. So bear with me, and I'm going to reconnect. Lawrence, did you also lose connection, or is this just me on my side?
No, I lost it as well.
Okay. Sorry, guys.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry, everybody.
Just bear with me for a second here. Okay, while this thing is reconnecting, basically what I was showing in that slide was you can say, for example, stay at 5-3 seconds as far as your mowing height, and things like either alternate mowing and rolling, or integrating something like mowing same green speed that you would get at, say, an 1/8 inch of a cut. But in this situation, you're maintaining a larger plant, getting more photosynthesis, and overall having better plant health at higher height of cut. So again, something like rolling is something to seriously consider. Very, very stressful summer. Just give us a few seconds. Lawrence, can you know me can you let me know when you've gotten?
Yeah, Nate, can you let us know what's going on, please? Or Natalie?
Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you, but we've lost our connection.
We're still connected here. We can advance the slides for you, Frank, while you're trying to reestablish a connection.
Okay. Actually, that works out really, really great. So we are on the 44th slide, I believe. So, okay, if you can advance it to the next slide there, Nate. Basically, what we're looking at with this slide, and it says rolling effects on turf quality, Richards 2008. All I want to say with this one here is that even at any height of cut, if you are rolling too aggressively, so 6 times or more, it can actually cause a little bit of damage with that. So probably the happy medium as far as what to do is probably either integrating rolling into your studies, or into your maintenance about 3 times a week, or do an alternate rolling and mowing. And I think that's it. Next slide, please, Nate. Okay. Basically, I'm looking at the effects of alternate mowing and rolling on summer turf quality, and this data is from John Sorokin. And basically, all I just want to say with this is if you look at mowing and rolling, and then alternate mowing and rolling over June, July, and August, you can see that definitely under just straight mowing types of regimens, you can see that real obvious decrease in turf quality going into August. Okay, so we're back on the slide here. Thanks, Nate, for setting this up. All I want to say here is that, under high stress conditions that you're seeing like here in August, under mowing, you see that decrease in turf quality. Mowing plus aggressive rolling, basically you're kind of seeing, even a drop in turf quality just from the mechanical. Then when you've got, that alternate mowing and rolling, summer stress periods, that could be really good. So in summary, on lightweight rolling, it seems like a good strategy for maintaining green speeds and turf quality under summer stress. With lightweight rolling, basically you can have some reduced anthracnose. Again, check out what the guys at Rutgers are doing. Times a week as far as rolling practices seems to be a good practice. Rating some additional stress management techniques or green speed management techniques into to top your heights, or even better yet, you can raise your heights a little bit when you need that extra. Just want to wrap up here, just very, very quickly talking about hand watering, syringing, and cooling. This photo here is from Mike Anderson over at Meadowbrook Country Club blog, which is actually pretty great. But supplemental watering is really crucial for preventing wilt and stress. And, one of the things that we need to do is make sure that water before they hit their critical wilt stages under summer conditions. But one of the things I just want to point out is that water and heat stress management always are not necessarily the same. Okay. A lot of guys will always say, well, let's go send the crew out to hand water and syringe to deal with heat stress. But definitely some of the research that we've seen has shown that, hand watering, syringing really doesn't affect canopy temperatures. So, if you kind of look at hand watering and syringing, think of it as kind of a water management practice for water replacement, and not necessarily just, kind of. So again, if you look at some of the data from Peacock and Bennett from North Carolina State University, and this is going back in the Wayback Machine, back to 1990. Basically, you can look at the leaf water potentials of those areas, either not treated, hand watered, or syringed, and 0 to 120 minutes after treatment. Basically, you can see the overall effect of hand watering or syringing is basically replacing water and reducing overall water stress and leaf water potential. Okay. On the other hand, if you look, when they looked at just straight canopy temperature, either right after application or up to 2 hours afterwards, there really wasn't a big long-term effect of overall cooling in those areas. And if you can imagine, this is being done in North Carolina. It's pretty hot and humid during that period. You can kind of see why, supplemental water in those situations may not. Now, of course, if you're in Arizona or California, where it's pretty dry and you've got, great air movement, maybe a different story. But, in these kind of hot, humid type conditions, the overall effect of hand watering, syringing, so definitely, evaporative cooling effects, you're going to lose them in humid, stagnant conditions. So again, in the northern or midwestern and mid-Atlantic, transition zone, again, you're going to lose some of that benefit. So, definitely, improved air movement can increase those cooling effects. So again, if you're shaded or, you've got a lot of trees blocking putting greens, open up that space as much as you can to get some air movement, evaporative cooling. And definitely, I think one of the good take-home messages is, if you've got no air movement, be prepared for summer because, again, evaporative cooling, a lot of that syringing won't help you very much. So I would say, worst-case scenarios, definitely, kind of implementing fans can be a huge. And I'm going to use the study done by Dave Hahn and Beth Girdle over at Auburn back in 2006, just to really quickly illustrate the point how much help as far as reducing soil temperature. Again, going back to earlier in the seminar, really soil temperatures do a lot of control over the physiological state of the plants. So definitely, just really quickly in a nutshell, you can see here syringing, fan plus syringing, just fans by themselves. Fan plus syringing as well as fans had the most significant effect on reducing soil temperatures, while syringing by itself did little or not actual soil temperature management. Again, that's reflected by, root length density and overall plant health. You can see here that, fans and fans plus syringing really did the best job as far as, allowing for root development, during the year and then later on. And then overall, your visual turf quality was best when you had fans and syringing, basically where you had water and also the effect of evaporative cooling. Okay, so just really quickly as we wrap up, and again, I apologize for the delay in just some, quick bullet points and take-home points about, summer disease and stress. Basically now, even though we're a few months away from the real start of the summer, now is the really critical time to start preventive practices to reduce summer decks with your fertility, Topdressing, Aerification, practices, so on and so forth. Basically, what you do now is going to set you up, making it through the summer successfully. Okay. Definitely organic matter and thatch management, aerification, vertical mowing, so on and so forth. You need it, but how you do it really depends on what you need. So again, going back to hollow tine versus solid tine versus vertical mowing, it just depends a lot on where your organic matter. Some of the research done by Eric Irvin, Rock Gassois, basically those two guys basically can kind of cover all your bases as far as thoughts on organic matter, and based a lot on what Jim Murphy and Bruce Clark were doing at Rutgers. I would say feed heavy now with nitrogen and maintain 1/10 to 2/10 of a pound. But dropping anywhere between 1 and 3 right now is probably a great idea for cool season. Top dressing, I think it's pretty simple. You can't add too much sand to turfgrass. Or you can top dress as far as frequency and volume, the better off you're going to be for the summer. Okay. All you guys out there know that length does matter, and definitely with photosynthesis, adequate length is needed. The longer you can keep your plants, the healthier you'll be going, into the summer, and maybe photosynthesis and carbohydrate production in those real stress. So, if you want to raise up your mowing heights and then do something like going into rolling 3 times a week, or even alternate mowing and rolling, again, that's a way to kind of, maintain some green speed while not sacrificing photosynthetic area. Okay. Hand watering and syringing, again, like I said with the data, the main effect is preventing wilt, not heat stress. So again, unless you've got good air movement coming through an area, evaporative cooling, syringing and hand watering may not necessarily save you from heat stress. So again, if we go to, either looking at fans or definitely I'm a fan of fans when you've got poor, really hot, humid conditions. So, think about implementing fans and kind of, or, if you don't have the budget, just getting as much air movement as possible on your screens. Okay. So just the last few slides here, there's an elephant in the room talking about, bacterial wilt. This is probably the hot topic. Worried about with summer stress this year, and I'm going to cheat a little bit here. I'm going to use not only slides from a good colleague Lane Treadway, kind of showing some of the damage that bacterial wilt does, and also some of the etiolation that's been associated with creeping bentgrass. But I'm really going to cheat and punt here and say that a lot of your questions can be answered with the Bayer Beyond the Basics webinar on 19th with Dr. Rick Lattin, and then so make sure to tune in, in a few months. At that time, Dr. Lattin will kind of be talking about this problem in detail, and then also, if you have a chance, check out the discussion at the Ohio Turfgrass Foundation show from this winter, and that's available as a YouTube bacterial wilt panel discussion, Ohio. You'll probably pull up this video, and this is not the most flattering picture of my colleagues here, but it's a great video and a great discussion on the problem. So with that, again, I apologize for the technical problems that we ran into today, but thanks for staying on the line. I can see that wow, no one dropped out, even though we were having all those problems. But thanks again, and best of luck this summer. And we'll open up the floor for a few minutes. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to leave this slide up here for those of you tuning in through the web, to get the 9-digit code for continuing education. And I'll just leave that slide up there. And for you guys on the phone, the code today is 999-9090-1471. So again, that's 999-9090-1471. Okay, so again, thanks again for tuning in, and let's open up the floor for a few minutes for questions.
Thank you, Dr. Wong. I'll remind anyone, if you have a question, go to the Q&A and type that in, and we'll address it to Dr. Wong here pretty quickly. Dr. Wong, one thing you covered fairly well was spring and summer fertilization recommendations. What are your recommendations from the standpoint of fall fertilization and good health of the turf?
Yeah, I have been looking at the research there, and it appears that fall fertilization is important, and definitely, especially right at fall aerification, dropping a pound or so of nitrogen is really essential for just pushing roots as you're going into winter periods. But I think all the research that I've seen at Rutgers really puts the finger on spring fertilization practices as being the most important thing you can do for summer stress relief. So again, nitrogen in the fall is great, but as much as you can put down in the spring is even more important.
Okay. For those that have algae and anthracnose problems that you referred to, what's the experience of recent years using reserve in those situations?
Yeah, reserve is a good choice for anthracnose and algae. Definitely putting green type management in the summer. Because let's face it, something like chlorothalonil is a great contact type fungicide that can take care of algae and as well as anthracnose. But with a combination product like Reserve, you're basically getting systemic activity of that DMI against anthracnose, and also picking up quite a bit of algae. The other materials that you can use for algae, like mancozeb, or just don't have a lot of activity against things like anthracnose or some of the other summer diseases. So again, I kind of think something that contains chlorothalonil, like Reserve, pretty useful. So.
All right. Lawrence, have you got any questions?
No, I do not.
Okay.
All right. I've got one here. I think that has more to do with the technical. So if there are no other questions, again, I want to thank Dr. Wong for his participation and information today, and thank everyone, and I hope you have a good season.
Okay. Thanks again, guys, for tuning in, and we'll see you guys soon.
This concludes today's program. Have a great day. You may disconnect at this time.